something feels different. Not just expensive, not just unstable, different. A tension hangs in the air that many people struggle to describe. It lingers in conversations. It follows people into markets, workplaces, churches, and homes. It appears in worried expressions and silent prayers whispered late at night. Across Nigeria, millions wake up every morning carrying questions they never expected to carry. Questions about safety, questions about the future, about whether tomorrow will be better than today, and perhaps the most unsettling question of all, how did we get here? Because when people look at the growing insecurity, the economic pressure, the corruption, the fear and uncertainty, many assume they're looking at a political problem. But what if they're seeing something deeper? What if the visible crisis is only the surface of a much larger reality? The Bible repeatedly warns that societies can experience outward decline long before they recognize inward decline. Long before nations collapse physically, something often begins collapsing spiritually. Jesus described a world marked by increasing turmoil, not isolated events, patterns that would grow stronger as history moved forward. Wars, conflicts, fear, distress among nations, anxiety about the future. For many people living in Nigeria today, these words no longer feel distant, they feel personal. Because the struggle is not simply about what is happening around people, it is also about what is happening within them. Hope feels harder to hold, trust feels harder to find, and uncertainty seems to grow faster than solutions. That alone should make us pause, because Scripture suggests that when confusion spreads, deeper questions become unavoidable. Not merely political questions, spiritual ones. Questions about values, questions about priorities, questions about the condition of the human heart. And that is where this story truly begins. Because what is unfolding across Nigeria may be about far more than politics, economics, or policy. It may be revealing something much larger about the times we are living in. The prophet Jeremiah once described a people searching desperately for healing while the deeper wound remained untouched. That image feels remarkably relevant today. Many discussions focus on symptoms, few focus on causes. People debate governments, policies, elections, institutions, yet beneath every society lies something more fundamental: character, the moral and spiritual condition of its people. The Bible consistently presents a challenging idea. Nations do not rise or fall solely because of resources. They rise and fall because of values, because of integrity, because of what people collectively honor, tolerate, and pursue. Proverbs states that righteousness exalts a nation, not wealth, not military strength, not influence, righteousness. That principle appears repeatedly throughout Scripture, and it raises an uncomfortable possibility. Could some of the crises people witness today be connected to a broader erosion of truth, honesty, justice, and accountability? Because corruption does not emerge from buildings, it emerges from hearts. Violence does not begin on roads, it begins in motives. Greed does not originate in systems, it originates in desires. The symptoms become public, the roots remain hidden. This is why political solutions alone often struggle to solve deeper problems. They may address structures, but they cannot transform hearts. Only God can do that. And perhaps that is why many people feel increasingly frustrated. Because even when one issue appears solved, another emerges. The pressure shifts, the anxiety remains, the uncertainty continues.
almost as though society is attempting to repair visible damage while ignoring invisible foundations. The Bible warns repeatedly about this pattern, and history repeatedly confirms it. A nation can survive economic hardship, it can survive political turmoil, but when moral foundations weaken, the consequences often spread far beyond what anyone expects. That realization changes the conversation, because suddenly the issue becomes larger than politics, much larger. There is another layer to this story that often goes unnoticed: fear. Not ordinary fear, persistent fear, the kind that slowly shapes behavior, the kind that influences decisions, the kind that changes how people see the future. Across many communities, uncertainty has become a constant companion. People worry about security, about employment, about rising costs, about what tomorrow might bring. Fear is powerful because it does more than affect emotions, it affects perspective. And Scripture has much to say about that. Throughout the Bible, one of the most repeated commands is surprisingly simple: do not be afraid. Why? Because fear has a way of narrowing vision. It causes people to focus only on immediate threats while losing sight of larger realities. That does not mean dangers are imaginary. They are real, but fear can make them appear ultimate.
The prophet Isaiah wrote during a time of instability and national uncertainty. Yet his message pointed beyond circumstances, toward trust, toward dependence on God, toward spiritual clarity in the middle of confusion. That message remains relevant because one of the greatest dangers during times of crisis is not simply external pressure. It is internal despair, a belief that nothing can improve, that hope is foolish, that faith is pointless. But despair has never been the language of Scripture. Realism, yes. Warning, yes, but not hopelessness. And this distinction matters because many people today are not merely struggling financially or socially, they are struggling spiritually, searching for stability in a world that increasingly feels unstable, searching for certainty in an age filled with uncertainty. And perhaps that search reveals something profound. People were created for something deeper than temporary security. They were created for truth, for purpose, for God. As the pressure increases, that reality becomes harder to ignore. The crisis is not only exposing weaknesses, it is exposing needs that politics alone cannot satisfy. The book of Ezekiel contains a striking image: a watchman standing on a wall, observing dangers approaching, warning people before disaster arrives. The purpose of the warning was never fear, it was preparation, awareness, discernment. That image feels increasingly important today, not only for Nigeria, but for the world. Because many of the challenges visible across Nigeria are not unique. Economic pressure, social tension, moral confusion, distrust, anxiety. These patterns appear in many nations, different forms, different intensities, similar direction. Jesus spoke about a world experiencing increasing distress before his return, not necessarily because every event would be unprecedented, but because many events would begin converging simultaneously. That word matters: convergence. When multiple pressures begin appearing together, when crises overlap, when uncertainty becomes widespread rather than isolated. This does not mean every headline fulfills prophecy directly, but it does remind believers to remain spiritually awake, to pay attention, to recognize larger patterns. Because prophecy is not merely about predicting events, it is about understanding times.
And understanding times requires discernment, not panic. Discernment. Which brings us to perhaps the most important question: what should believers do? The answer is surprisingly consistent throughout Scripture. Remain faithful, remain alert, remain grounded, remain prayerful, remain hopeful. Because darkness often makes people focus on darkness, but biblical faith calls people to focus on God, even when circumstances are difficult, especially when circumstances are difficult. The crisis spreading across Nigeria may indeed be larger than politics, because beneath every visible struggle lies a spiritual question, and the way people answer that question may determine far more than they realize. The future of a nation is important, but the condition of a soul is eternal. And as uncertainty continues to spread across the world, that distinction becomes more important than ever. Because the greatest crisis may not be what is happening around us, it may be whether we recognize what it is revealing within us.